to the, I think, last of the Hong Kong Disneyland planning videos. As I said previously, I was planning to do one video and then just ended up talking for ages, so I've recut everything into 3 separate videos. So following on from my mammoth planning video about Hong Kong Disneyland, what I thought I'd do in this video is basically take you on a bit of a walk around the park just to talk about the differences and some of the unique stuff that you will find in Hong Kong Disneyland. Now, I try really hard not to compare Disney parks because I think they should all be valued on their own merits. So where possible, I'm going to try not to say this is better than that, this is better than that. I will compare to give you an idea of what things are like, but I think everybody should make up their own minds about whether stuff is better or worse or the same, or you know, what's different. So I'm going to try not to put too much opinion in it and just give you a bit of a description around what stuff is. So hopefully I can achieve that and just give you a general overview of what it's like visiting Hong Kong Disneyland. So the first thing that's different, which I did mention in my planning video, is that everything is very wide and open on the walk up to the park. And you do have a very long walkway which leads you to the absolutely beautiful fountain. And then as you get to the fountain, you kind of see the park on the right and you think, oh! And one of the things that really struck me about Hong Kong Disneyland is no matter where you are in the park, you can't really tell you're in a theme park because you can't really see beyond the area that you are. So whereas in the other Disney parks, you can see tall buildings, you can see parts of ride structures and stuff, there is none of that on Hong Kong. Everything seems very flat and very low. Main Street feels low, and the other lands feel quite low as well. So when you look to the right and see the park, it's almost a bit of a, oh, didn't know that was there. It's got the same turnstiles at the entrance as Disneyland has, with the station at the front. To a certain extent the Magic Kingdom, but the monorail and the 2 different entrance and exit sides make it slightly different. And you do walk underneath the station, as Walt intended, into Town Square. Town Square has pretty much got the same feeling as the other Disney parks. For me, it was very similar to Disneyland Paris because it isn't as busy and cluttered as Florida and California. It's much wider, the roads seem much wider and much flatter. There are no tram tracks, there are no horse-drawn trams in Hong Kong Disneyland, so you've got none of those tracks to fall down, and that makes the roads feel wider as well, I think. As you walk down Main Street, I don't know if it's because the buildings do seem lower, but Main Street does feel wider. I'm not sure whether it is or not, but it does feel like the paved area in the middle is slightly wider than the other main streets. I'm pretty sure it's definitely wider than Paris, but that could be my imagination. So in Town Square you have the usual buildings. You have City Hall with guest relations, you have the gazebo in the middle where Mickey and Minnie were meeting. Lots of the extra Magic Hour character meets are around Town Square, very similar to where they are in Disneyland Paris. And then you walk up Main Street, and with the usual formula, you have the Emporium on the left hand side as you face up to the castle. Now the castle is very small, it's like Disneyland's castle, and at the moment it's kind of hidden behind these 10-foot construction walls, but from the bottom of Main Street you can see the castle like you would any other time. At the bottom of Main Street you can't really see the construction wall. As with the other main streets, there are various dining and shopping opportunities as you go up and down both sides of Main Street, which brings you up into the hub. You have the Plaza Inn on the left. It looks like the Plaza Gardens in Disneyland Paris, but it's on the wrong side, so it's a bit weird, but that's a familiar format. You have the Castle Hub, but you can only access the bottom half of it at the moment because the second half of the circle, the top semicircle, is cut off from those construction. If you work round in an anti-clockwise direction, and I'll do this because we're starting off with the lands that are the most similar and going through into the most different, you will go right into Tomorrowland. You will find the Starlit Diner, and there is a cafe there as well which does burgers and fries and stuff. You have the spinning rocket ride. It is different to the other Orbitrons in the other parks. It's the same concept, it's a Dumbo type ride. You sit in a carriage on a carousel, it goes round and you can make it go up and down. But rather than the Orbitron ride in Paris where you're sat one in front of each other, you can actually fit 4 people in, a bit like the magic carpets in Agrabah. And as well as going up and down, it makes noises as well. That was a really nice ride actually, I did enjoy that. You also have a big construction site at the moment. They're building a new Avengers ride. I believe it's on top of where Buzz Lightyear used to be, so that was a little bit disappointing because for us Tomorrowland was a little bit light on the attractions front. Next to that you have the Iron Man experience, which is pretty much Star Tours. It's the same ride system as Star Tours, completely different ride, really really good fun. It is 3D, I remember picking up the glasses. And there is the ever to be expected cameo, so look out for that. Ride car is exactly the same and it's really good. And I'm not going to tell you about the rides too much because I don't want to give away the actual experiences, but it is a good ride, I did enjoy it. There's then a shop as you come out of the Iron Man experience, and in there you can meet Iron Man. We didn't do this because the line was just too long, we didn't have time. And then next to that you have Space Mountain, which in Hong Kong is currently Hyperspace Mountain, so it is Star Wars themed, and it's a very similar ride system to California. It's completely different to Florida, which is the Matterhorn type ride system, and Disneyland Paris, which is the inverted roller coaster. It is very much the Disneyland side by side, 4 in a car, go up, 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 constantly going up, and then when you can't go up anymore, you just basically descend in a series of spirals and bumps and loops and stuff. It's really fun, really really good fun, and it's obviously got the Star Wars theming in it as well. We really enjoyed that, we did that several times. And that's pretty much what there is to offer. There's some carts and stuff, some refreshment stalls, but apart from that, because Buzz is closed, it is a bit light on the ground. As you come out of Tomorrowland, you are in Fantasyland, and in the very top right hand corner of the park, as you would expect, is It's a Small World. Small World is It's a Small World as you would expect. The building is beautiful, and at night time it is so pretty. It's all lit up, all different colours. It's really really cute. Even if you're not going to ride Small World, if you're not a Small World fan, just pop down under the bridge and go and have a look, because in the evening once it's dark, it is really really beautiful. The ride is the same ride system as in California, and it's got the characters in as well. And in my opinion, it has the prettiest Small World queuing area of all the Small World queuing areas I have been in. Of the 4 that there are across the world that I've been in, this one is definitely the cutest. That's sort of tucked away under a bridge a bit further down, so it's not really within the main part of Fantasyland, it's kind of down the back. So in the main part of Fantasyland you have the standard rides, you have the teacups, you have Dumbo, and you have the carousel, all of which are exactly the same wherever you are in the world. You also have the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, which is exactly the same ride as in Florida, and it has a massive line the whole day. It's one of the only rides in the park that has a fast pass, so if you don't want to stand in line for an hour just to ride Winnie the Pooh, then get a fast pass. So as well as the standard Fantasyland rides, you have a gardens, which was all set up with Halloween themed, like trick-or-treating area, and they had pumpkins, a pumpkin patch, and they had the Winnie the Pooh characters in Halloween costumes during the day, and villain character meets in the evening. Unique to Hong Kong, out of the 4 parks that I've been to, they have the Fairy Tale Forest, which is a really really sweet little walkthrough. It's actually very similar to the Storybook boat ride that they have in Paris and the Storybook ride they have in California, where you just travel through little scenes with the castles from the various princess fairy tales, but this time you're on foot, you can just walk through. And actually that's quite good because it means A, you don't have to stand in line to get into a ride, but also you get to see the same experience, but you can do it much quicker. So if you literally just want to go in, take a quick picture and run out, perfect. I mean, I did it in 2 minutes because I just wanted to have a look. And they've got these really nice metal frames on posts which frame the castles, so if you stand just at the right angle you can take a picture with the castle framed in this ornate frame. And then they have little scenes from the movies as well. It's really really cute, and even though it's just a walk through, I still like doing that stuff. I think it's really really nice, and that is a unique thing. I don't know whether they have it in Shanghai or in Tokyo, but it's unique out of all the parks that I've been to, so it was nice to do something that was completely different. The other thing which I believe is unique to Hong Kong is Mickey and the Wondrous Book. Now this is kind of a Mickey and the Magician, Mickey and the Magical Map type show, where they have tiny little snippets from lots of different films all gelled together with a sort of loose storyline. This was brilliant. It was incredible. It's the best out of all of the shows that I've seen in a Disney park. It was really good. I mean, the technology of the book, the way stuff comes in and out of the book, the way things appear, really, really good. And it had a really good selection of characters and songs as well. So definitely, if you're going to Hong Kong Disneyland, one of your must-dos is Mickey and the Wondrous Book. And then in Fantasyland, on top of that, you have popcorn stalls, ice cream stands and all those sorts of places. And you do have the Royal Banquet Hall, which, as I said in my other video, is a big sort of food court type restaurant with lots of different choices inside. Now from Fantasyland you can go one of two ways, so I'm going to work going the most extreme. You can go from Fantasyland and you can go down into Adventureland this way, or you can go into Toy Story Land. So I'm going to talk round to Toy Story Land, because then when you come out of Grizzly Gulch at the bottom you're back in Adventureland, and that kind of completes the circle rather than missing out the loop. So there's kind of a dog leg. You go under the railway tracks to get to this dog leg where they have Toy Story Land, Mystic Point and Grizzly Gulch. Toy Story Land is exactly the same as the one in Disneyland Paris. It has the Slinky Dog coaster, which is not the same as the one in Florida. It's the little one that goes round and round and up and down. It doesn't have a long track. It has the parachute drop and it has the RC Racer drop. It has a really good ice cream stall stand where they do the pineapple slushies, which I had on the first day, which was a pineapple squishy icy with vanilla ice cream on top, so you get basically a drink and an ice cream together, and you got an ice cream there. It was really, really good. And they have lots of picture opportunities like they do in Florida, and always lots of characters about there as well. We saw Buzz, Jessie, Woody, the Green Army Men were out a lot as well. So Toy Story Land is a good place to go for characters. It opens at 10:30, so it opens half an hour after the park opens, so that is something to bear in mind. So we just did most of Fantasyland at 10 and then went over to Toy Story Land. We went in about 10:40, and the lines were about 20 minutes by the time we got in at that point. Once you finish with Toy Story Land, you get into Mystic Point, which is tiny. It has one attraction and a walkthrough, the Gardens of Wonder, which has lots of little optical illusion things which are fun to do. They have these big statues, and when you stand in a specific point it creates an optical illusion, and there's a little sign that explains what the illusion is, how you create it, but it's all to do with perspective, and it's really, really good fun. So we did that on our last night, and it also is home to Mystic Manor. Now a lot of people are massive Haunted Mansion Phantom Manor fans. I like both of these rides. I really like it. I like the theming, I like all of the memorabilia that comes with it, the hitchhiking ghosts, all of that sort of stuff. However, Mystic Manor knocks the socks off all of them. It is so fun. I don't want to give too much away. You'll see in the vlogs, if you want to watch the vlogs, you'll see what the ride actually is. And yeah, so I won't go into great details around the story. It is an enchanted house type concept, but because of Chinese culture they don't have the whole haunted mansion concept. If you're familiar with Ratatouille in Paris, it is a trackless coaster, and you do get a different ride. There's 2 tracks, so you can get a different ride each time. Characters are brilliant, the ride is really, really fun, the music is beautiful, the theming is beautiful, it's just clean, it's new, it's fresh. We rode it I think 5 times actually, 4 or 5 times on our trip, because we absolutely loved it. It is just completely different to anything we'd done before in a Disney park, and yeah, it's really, really fun. I really, really enjoyed Mystic Manor. When you come out of Mystic Point, you then enter Grizzly Gulch, and again this is another one ride land. It just has big Grizzly Mountain Runaway Mine cars. It is, well, I assumed it was a Big Thunder Mountain concept, but when you actually ride the ride, it's a combination of Big Thunder Mountain from Disneyland Paris, Expedition Everest because you have a backwards section, and Rock and Roller Coaster because you have a 0 to whatever launch halfway through. It's really fun. It's not a low thrill ride like Big Thunder Mountain in Walt Disney World. It is quite a high thrill roller coaster. It does start off quite fast like the one in Disneyland Paris. Then, as I said, you go up a hill, the track stops like in Everest, you then roll backwards down the hill and you ride a section of the ride backwards, and then you come to a stop, and then from that stop you go from a 0 mile per hour launch straight off again, and that last section, that last third, is fast. It's very, very fast. It is really fun. And it's really, really fun if you ride it in the dark, similar to Big Thunder Mountain really, but if you can only ride that ride once, try and ride it in the dark, because I think it's more fun riding it in the dark. It's a really, really cool ride. And then finally, to come full circle, you will come out of Grizzly Gulch into the side of Adventureland. They have the Festival of the Lion King. It's the same as the one in Animal Kingdom, but completely different to the one in Animal Kingdom, if that makes sense. It's much more a reenactment of the story of the film, rather than the sort of Cirque du Soleil acrobat type performances that they have in The Lion King in Animal Kingdom. So that was really interesting. And the floats, the carnival floats with the 4 animals, the elephants, the giraffes, the warthogs and the zebra, really nice. Much, much newer and shinier than the ones in Walt Disney World. It was a really, really nice show. And we turned up, I think, about 10 minutes before it started, so you don't need to get there in like loads of time in advance. It was a really, really good show, so I'd highly recommend that as well. Then as you come further around into Adventureland, sticking with shows, you have the Moana Homecoming show. This was the first thing we did once we'd got into the park. We kind of wandered around. We decided on Adventureland because we just kind of headed up the left side of Main Street and were just drawn towards Adventureland. And we ended up, as we walked past the theatre, there were people waiting, and we were like, oh, that show's on in 15 minutes, let's just go and sit and wait. So we sat and we waited. This show is hilarious. It is so much fun because they do it in Cantonese, Mandarin and in English. Moana is predominantly in English. Obviously they do the same thing 3 times, once in each language. But it is so funny because they basically condense the entire plot of the hour, whatever it is, film into about 15 minutes. So they are absolutely like, and there's people jumping all over the place and whoa, and It is really, really good fun. There is no singing, so the songs aren't in there. They have a bit in the backing track in the back you will hear, but more like a kind of a theme with the music rather than the actual soundtrack. And there is no sort of musical performance, but it is hilarious. It is a really, really fun show. It's definitely worth going to see. I really, really enjoyed it. I have put quite a bit of it into my vlogs. They have the leaky tikis, as they do in Florida. They don't have a tiki room. On top of that, they then have one of my favourite things about Hong Kong Disneyland, I think. They have the Jungle Cruise, they have the keel boats, and they have Tarzan's Treehouse. But what's different about them is the Jungle Cruise actually sails out around the river, and Tarzan's Treehouse is on the island in the middle. So where you would have Tom Sawyer Island in Frontierland or in the Rivers of America, you have Tarzan's Treehouse with a tiny little island. And the keel-hauled boats will go across from Adventureland across to the treehouse and back. So that's the only way to access the treehouse. The treehouse is identical to the one in Disneyland. It has the same characters and the same theming inside. I went over at dusk just before sunset and it was beautiful. The light on the water and through the trees, perfect time to go. If you want to get some great shots of the park from high up and of the river with the sunlight on, that's the best time of day to go, just in the early evening. But my all-time favourite thing about Hong Kong Disneyland, I think, apart from Mystic Manor, because that is my favourite, the Jungle Cruise boat ride goes out around the treehouse and you actually sit on the Jungle Cruise going through Adventureland, and you can see people, guests, in Adventureland, and from Adventureland you can see people riding the Jungle Cruise. And I love it. I just couldn't, the first day, I couldn't get my head around it. Like, people were riding on the Jungle Cruise like the Mark Twain riverboat, going around the river, around kind of Tom Sawyer's Island. It's like if Tom Sawyer's Island, the riverboats and the Jungle Cruise had a baby, that's what you would get in Hong Kong Disneyland. It was so cool. The Jungle Cruise itself is great. It's almost identical to the standard Jungle Cruise format that you would see. You've got the camp invaded by gorillas, you've got the guys up the totem pole, they have giraffes and zebras and stuff. And the finale, I'm not going to say too much. You can watch the full thing in my vlogs. I'm not going to insert a clip here, I'm not going to tell you what it is. The end is completely different and really cool. So yeah, I'm not going to spoil that for anybody who doesn't want to see that. If you don't want to see it, don't watch my vlogs. It's really fun at the end. In terms of the actual ride system for the Jungle Cruise, they have 3 lines. So you'll go in the entrance to the Jungle Cruise and around the boathouse, there are 3 lines that you can join. You can do whatever you want, Mandarin, Cantonese or English, and they specify that whatever the wait time is, they make everybody wait the same amount of time, so whichever queue you go into, you will be waiting the same amount of time. Having said that, I don't know if we are just lucky or whether they just lie to everybody, but the shortest wait time we saw posted was 20 minutes. I think when we queued up it was 20 one time, 25 another time, and 30 or 35 another time. The longest we waited was about 15 minutes. But they do say you're supposed to wait the same amount of time as everybody else, so don't expect that by going in the English line, because there's less English people, you'll get on quicker. There are much fewer English boats than there are other languages, so just be prepared for the wait. Even though there might only be 10 people in front of you, you might have to still wait 20 minutes for the next boat to come around. It is absolutely hilarious. So if you're going to Hong Kong Disneyland and you've only got a short amount of time and you're thinking, okay, we won't ride the rides that are in other parks because we've already ridden the Jungle Cruise in California, so we're not going to bother, we don't have time, please ride the Jungle Cruise, because it is just one of those unique Hong Kong experiences that you have to have. It is brilliant. I absolutely loved it. So with that, that pretty much concludes our Grand Circle tour. Oh, we didn't talk about the railroad. See what I did there? It is quite a quick ride because whereas in the other parks you have multiple stops, which takes time getting people on and off, on this it's just got the one stop, so it's quite quick. I think it's about 15 minutes. It wasn't quite 20 minutes when we rode it, so it's a nice little sit down just for 15 minutes just to rest your feet. So there we have it. That's pretty much a walkthrough of the park. Hopefully I've gone into enough detail to give you an idea of what's there, but not too much detail that I've made you think you now don't need to go because you've heard all about it. I would just say my favourite things were Mystic Manor and Jungle Cruise. The Lion King show was great, and Mickey and the Wanderer's book is absolutely amazing as well, so those are my must-dos. The other thing to think about is unique character meets. The Duffy characters all meet in various spots along Main Street at various times of the day. Obviously you can't meet those in Paris or in the US parks, so if you want to meet those, then this is also a good opportunity to meet them as well. But yeah, hopefully that gives you an idea of what is on offer at Hong Kong Disneyland. If you have any questions or you want any more in-depth videos about specific rides, if you want me to do a little sort of overview, then I can do that on specific rides as well. Just leave it down in the comments and I will put something together for you. So for now, thank you for watching and I will see you soon.